You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis, only on 101.3 Jam.
Sir Charles, A.A. Ron, Patty, and we are joined now to start this hour, talk a few minutes with a guest that you all have been asking for, and we delivered, and I'm so glad that she could be here with us on this occasion, none other than Chelsea Higgs Wise of Marijuana Justice. Chelsea, thanks for joining this afternoon. How you doing?
I'm doing really well. Thanks so much for having me, Charles.
Absolutely. Like I said, thank you for joining us. And this is a long time coming. So first thing I wanted to do is, as we talk about, you're an activist, you're a community organizer, volunteer. Like you wear a lot of hats. And so I'm curious how long that you've been a part of, marijuana justice and like sort of your road that got you here. Because with things that are changing currently, it wasn't always like this. It's been a long time coming. So, so to people you may be new to in Charlottesville, and we're broadcasting worldwide, go ahead and formally, introduce yourself and your work.
I really appreciate that moment, Charles. Again, my name is Chelsea Higgs Wise. I'm right here in the so-called Richmond, Virginia, the fallen capital of the Confederacy. And, I've been organizing locally for racial justice, particularly out loud since 2018 when Marcus David Peters was killed by Richmond Police Department. He was naked. He was suffering from a mental health crisis on the side of I-95. That's what really brought a large community of folks together. Prior to that, I was providing mental health Medicaid services for the last 10 years. I'm a clinical social worker, master's degree from BCU. So, I have all my white credentials to walk into a room and spit policy and regulation and been able to also have this boot on the ground. I'm born and raised in this Richmond, Southside, Chesterfield area. My mom taught at RPS, Richmond Public Schools. And, I've just been serving the community for 10 years with some of the poorest people that were Black mothers. I'm a mother myself. So in 2018, we started organizing. I started Race Capital, which is a podcast and radio platform.
Broke up on us a little bit.
Confederacy of Richmond, Virginia.
Gotcha.
Richmond, Virginia. And so, follow us.
Yeah, we got you.
Follow us there. And okay, great. Follow us there and at Race Capital, and that's RACECAPITOL as in the capital space, Capital Square. And then, in 2019, I don't know if folks remember, but it was a big old controversy with a yearbook in our certain governor, right? And it was also this 400th year commemoration. And so we were talking a lot. Y'all my people. Okay, so we here, but what we saw out of that moment, because we renamed that February of 2019 Blackface History Month, because it was created a narrative of, we saw what was going on. It was like, how are we actually going to bring money, restitution, literally liberation to people in jail, in cages right now, right? And we saw the national movement, what was going on with marijuana and cannabis. So with all this lip service of Democrats and politicians talking about reconciliation, and I've been there. I actually last year was a national Democratic nominee with the Democratic Party with Bernie Sanders. I'm way left. So I'm in these spaces. I know what's happened going on. And so I also knew that there was no Black-led space for this marijuana work. I looked around, I saw all normal. I don't even got time for that. But we came together and we said in 2019, if we really want to hold them accountable for the harm of the last 400 years, because folks don't even know, 400 years ago, 1619, we were growing cannabis. We were growing hemp. And they actually took that away from us to now produce cotton, right? And to also reproduce enslaved people. That's another whole conversation right here, right? Yeah. So what our wealth is. So we're really down to talk about the 3 R's, and that came together out of this 2019 movement. So marijuana justice came together in 2019. We really were pushing in 2020 before COVID, before the uprising, right, and the General Assembly around the decriminalization laws. And that's when we saw how trifling these legislators were really going to be with decrim. They really were sitting here like, all right, we're going to decrim, but we're still actually going to penalize people, which gives cops the right to still be in our face, right? So July 1, last year. They decriminalized it under an ounce. But what we had to do this coming up in 2020, 2021 is show them that that actually did not work. I'm gonna be honest, in 2020, it was a volunteer run. I'm a consultant, mama running around hustler. So I'm able to have a little space with this. But after the uprising in 2020, because of my space against defunding the police, and because of national support that came in and saw our voices coming in, particularly in Richmond against our mayor and our police department, marijuana justice got tremendous support from national donors, and we were able to now hire staff, and we were able to jump into 2021. And you can see now, once I telling you the story, that without marijuana justice organizing in this work, July 1, 2021 would not be a thing. And that's not me on my ego-ish or nothing. That's just the truth.
True.
When it was proposed in 2021 in January, they wanted to legalize this in 2024. So before you clap for any legislator, any politician, they didn't want this to happen until 2024. And it took a Black-led organization getting together with public defenders. Thank you, Justice Forward. Getting together with ACLU Virginia. Thank you for coming with us there. Getting together for Rise for Youth, and putting forward to say your decrim laws. We had to FOIA information and say that, you know what, your decrim laws were not doing anything and we need justice right now. Why are you going to wait until 2024 to get the police off of our backs for marijuana? And without that very public push, they would have never made the amendments to get it for this 2021. That's a long story to say. I'm a disruptor, to say that I find the momentum of where we're going. And because I'm in certain rooms, I realize that we have to also make policy disruptions. So me particular, I work on the ground in media, independent spaces, and in this reform legislative world. I'm here in marijuana, particularly to make sure the cops are off of us, particularly to make sure we get our folks out of jail. I'm also here for that business equity as well, but I have certain thoughts about capitalism.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you, you mentioned Mayor Stoney, and I'm sure you hear from our show and you hear other news about us having a Black female mayor and how you still have that deep-rooted racism that can affect policy change because you're still dealing with the race, right? So you can't even get to other policy. But how has that relationship been, again, with that fine line of him being a Black male, but maybe not having the same political views though? Like, how is that relationship?
Ooh, it's been tough. I'm going to be really honest, because we are a majority minority city as well. And our deeply rooted Black-led, but yet maybe not for the people led, has been deeply new dynamic. And I will just say that, unfortunately, with Mayor Stoney, it's the same type of money that is funding a lot of the things like policing and marijuana that is keeping us here right now. So it's a hard line, and I don't want to say too much because I'm not even in my own space. And he just put out a really egregious New York Times piece yesterday talking about 2020. And I haven't gotten my thoughts together on that yet, but I want people to know that, it's hard to get the truth out, but that's why it's important for us to be making this type of noise. I know I don't have too much time, but I really do want to go into what's coming on July 1.
Yeah, please.
And particularly, I know everyone's really excited to be able to carry up to 1 ounce on your person. Okay. That's what that means. You can have up to 4 plants in your house, not per person.
That's important.
To mature. That's important. Only per house, and they have to be labeled correctly. That's going to be something that the police are going to use if somehow, some way they end up in your house and it's not labeled correctly. That's going to be on Black folks.
Right.
I also want you to know, in these cars, There was a big article in Virginia Mercury this past week because they put out the data with traffic enforcement, and they saw that Black folks, surprise, were targeted for traffic enforcement at a much higher rate than white folks. Now, this is, of course, what Black folks been saying since we started driving, right? We ain't have the green book for nothing. And so what we saying in marijuana is when they quote unquote legalize this. So July 1, when you get excited about carrying around your 1 ounce, please know that just because they can't search the car for the smell of marijuana anymore, what they did write into the law is that a cop can say that he sees a green leafy substance and then still say that he can search your car.
Right.
That substance can be grass, it can be kale. And just like what we heard from public defenders, that only black cars smell like marijuana before, it's only going to be Black people's cars that green leafy is on the console.
Wow,
and not to mention, gave over $1 million to make cops drug recognition experts for a legal substance. So now they are going to be experts to recognize when Black people have weed.
Now, do we know about the compounded?
Be careful out there in this car.
Do we know about the compounded charges, or if you have a firearm along with drugs? Does that still exist, or has that changed?
Yeah, so if you have a compound crime that marijuana charge from the past, unfortunately, we have to continue that work for 2022. Most of the criminal justice parts were just not included, which is why we made so much noise of why, because they didn't want to do this until 2024, y'all. So the resentencing did not happen. The folks with the felony, they're going to have to wait and petition for their stuff to get done. And it's going to be a very long time. If you did have a possession charge, that was automatically sealed. Okay, if you are in possession with intention to distribute, that should be automatic sealed soon, but we're also looking at the new expungement laws. Shout out to Legal Aid Justice Center. But I will be very honest with people is that right now I'm taking a lot of questions like, how will my charge be sealed or expunged? And my answer is going to be, we're going to have to continue to wait, unfortunately.
Now, people get automatic.
So 2024, 2025. So if folks really want to get them.
If you have a firearm and marijuana, or I think any substance, there's an automatic time that you get. But that piece, is that still in play, or has that changed with the legalization? Do we know?
No, that's still gonna be in play here.
Okay.
That's because but you all know how these gun laws are enforced. Let's be real. Like, that's only going to be for Black folks, because white folks are going to want to protect their weed. They're going to allow cops to own dispensaries. So they're going to be the most armed up in here. I mean, there's a lot in this bill that's still just allowing corporate cops of cannabis, and we're going to still be locked up just because we hide behind the wheel.
Gotcha. Kick it over to Patty.
Yeah, so how does this impact people who are currently incarcerated?
Yeah, right now there is nothing that's really truly impacting them to make it better for them. The exact response from the administration when we demanded them to do this is that they ran out of time to talk about it during General Assembly session. When I tell y'all the only thing they decided is how to build the Virginia Cannabis Control Authority, which is the way that they will collect profit. That's all they did during General Assembly. They didn't talk about expungement. They didn't talk about resentencing. That's what they talked about. And so if folks are interested in learning more about those particular boards and that business that's going to come up in 2024, the governor is taking applications right now if you want to get on that board and have some say about that.
Yeah. Now, what about, and I'm sorry, Patty.
No, that was it.
Yeah, it was okay. I was going to say, now, what about the licensing deal? Like, the number of licenses that the state is giving out, and if that can be fairly distributed. Any insight on that?
Sure. So they are going to be a set number of cultivation, manufacturing, dispensary, retail. Folks, and what that will look like in your area. What I am telling people is that it will look a lot like ABCs. So we're going to have about 400 dispensaries in Virginia. Wherever the ABC stores are, that's probably about where they're going to try and put a dispensary, or how many dispensaries are going to come. when we're talking about fair and equitable licensing, we do have a social equity clause in there for social equity licensing. What I will tell you is that they have not told us how many social equity licenses we get out of the 400 plus.
Right.
So that is going to be a big push that we also have to push for 2022. And the social equity definitions we have to push. I will say that there is a micro business license that is more smaller scale that we also have to define, but we have to come back and do that in 2022. I really hope folks hear that this is not finished. All we did is allow the police to get off of us for simple possession.
Yes.
We
yes.
have to come back in 2022 for the business, for our folks in cages, for our folks with
Right.
records. We are not done.
Yes.
Absolutely. That is spot on. And off of that note, before we let you go, like, what are the ways to reach out? What are the ways that you would encourage us to be involved and stay involved?
You know, please follow us on social media, THC Justice Now on all social media platforms. Our website is marijuanajustice.org. Marijuana Justice holds a virtual monthly space every first Wednesday at 6:30. So you can follow us there and I can regurgitate all of the stuff out to you, as well as we have speakers. And if you follow us there, we give out scripts, we give out calls. I held a space every Saturday during general session just to explain what the hell was going on to folks. So I'm like a little policy interpreter. So if folks have questions, want to know more, please follow THC Justice Now and follow me on Twitter, Chelsea Wise RBA, or on Instagram, Chelsea Higgs Wise.
Nice.
Very nice.
Chelsea, thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it. And please keep up the great work and don't be a stranger. You know, keep us informed and we will try to do the same.
Yeah, I'm going to try and come in studio next time, y'all.
Yeah, please do. Please do. All right. Hey, and sister, I love the art. And I know, the folks who can't see it got the beautiful African art. Appreciate that. Love
Thank
it.
you. Shout out to Shakur's right here in Jackson Ward is where I got it.
Yeah, we
y'all.
gonna love it. Hey, you hear that, Patty? Check out
Yes.
Shakur's.
Yes, absolutely.
All right,
Peace, y'all.
Chelsea. See you next time.
Thanks.
All right, I am Mitchell family. We were just joined by Chelsea Hicks, of Marijuana Justice, giving us the scoop. Hey, Ron.